What's going on, everybody? Tech here, coming back at you with another video. In this video, I'm going to be giving you some tips and tricks for the Samsung Galaxy A15 5G to help you make the most of the camera setup. Now, as always, if you end up wanting to learn more about this phone, definitely check out the description, where I am linking to several other videos about it, as well as some information about pricing, availability, and some of my favorite smartphone accessories. But with that being said, let's get into it. So the first thing I'm going to show you is how to use the ultra-wide camera. Now with this phone, luckily we are getting an ultra-wide camera, which is a nice improvement from the predecessor, the A14 5G, because although with that phone, the 4G version at least did actually have an ultra-wide camera, the 5G didn't for whatever reason. But luckily with the A15 5G, we're not getting that issue. So to use the ultra-wide camera with this phone, it's pretty simple. What you're going to do, of course, is open the main camera app. So right now, this is basically just the normal photo mode. And to get to the ultra-wide camera, all you have to do is press this 0.5 right here. And that's pretty much it. So as you can see, we can fit a lot more into the frame. So definitely a nice feature to have. The next thing I'm going to show you is how to use the macro camera. So yeah, this is the complete opposite of an ultra-wide camera, but essentially, if you want to get those close-up detailed images, that's where the macro camera comes in. So essentially, from the main camera screen to get to the macro camera, what you're going to want to do is hit the More tab right here. As you can see in here, we got a few different photo modes, and macro mode is right here. So with macro mode on, again, this is used for those close-up detailed images. So definitely a nice feature to have, and keep in mind, when you're done with macro mode, of course, you are going to want to go back. Otherwise, when you try to take a normal photo, it won't turn out right. Now, while we're in this More tab, I want to go over some other modes we have too. So we got Pro mode. This is going to allow you to customize some additional settings. Panorama, food mode, night mode. So keep in mind, if you're taking pictures in more of an open space at night mode is really useful for that. Again, there is macro mode right here, slow motion, and finally hyperlapse. So we got a few different modes, and in case you're wondering, if you find yourself using one of these more often, say you're constantly using macro mode, for example, what you can do is hit this plus icon right here. Then from here, press and hold on whatever icon you want to move. So like this, drag it on here, and that's pretty much it. So now if you hit save, as you can see, macro mode is down here. So definitely nice and convenient. And then if you want to remove something, basically just do the same thing. So again, hit the plus icon. Then from here, find the one you want to change. So I'm going to get rid of this. So press and hold on fun, drag it up here. And that's pretty much it. Now I'm going to show you how to use your camera's full power. Now keep in mind with this device, despite having a 50 megapixel camera, which is pretty impressive for what it is, when you're taking regular photos in photo mode, it's actually only using a small portion of this. Now, in general, this isn't really going to make the photos that much lower quality, but if you really want to get a nice, super detailed, sharp image, you may actually want to use the entire 50 megapixels. So what you're going to do is go right up here next to the aspect ratio. So as you can see right now, it says 12M, so that basically means when you're taking photos, you will be taking photos in 12 megapixels, which, again, this is really not bad by any means. In fact, for most people, this will be perfectly fine. But if you do want that extra quality, all you have to do is tap right here. And as you can see now, it says 50. So now you can use the entire 50 megapixels. Now, keep in mind, in this mode, the file size will be slightly larger. Now, in my experience, it's not really like a huge difference, but at the same time, it is still something to be aware of. So if you're taking maybe a lot of pictures, you might want to use a micro SD card or something. But again, in my experience, it's not like it's really going to make a huge difference. It's like maybe 20 megabytes per picture, if that. And keep in mind, with 128 gigabytes of internal storage, with this phone, it most likely won't be an issue, but in case you do want to save space, you might not want to use this all the time. And speaking of saving space, the next thing I'm going to show you is how to take high efficiency photos and videos. So what this is going to do is essentially change the file type. So for photos, instead of a JPG or JPEG, it's going to be what's called an HEIF file, which essentially is really just a slightly different file that's a bit smaller. And then for videos, they'll be HEVC files instead of MP4s. So for all intents and purposes, this is really not going to change a whole lot, but it will make the file size a bit smaller. So to do this, what you're going to want to do is go to settings. And from here, you're going to want to go to two different places. First of all, under pictures, as you can see right here, where it says high efficiency pictures, toggle this on. And then for videos, same thing. So right here, where it says high efficiency videos, turn this on too. And that's pretty much it. Now I'm going to show you how to take a burst photo. Now essentially a burst photo is really just a series of photos taken pretty much at the same time. So depending on what you're taking pictures of, it can be kind of useful. So essentially to do this, all you have to do is grab the shutter and swipe it down, so like this. Hold it down to I think up to 30. And there we go. And now from here, go to Photos. Tap on this icon right here. And this is going to show you every picture you took. In addition to this, you can also use that same motion to create a GIF. To do this, go to Settings. Then from here, go to where it says Swipe Shutter. And as you can see by default, swiping the shutter like I showed you will take a burst shot, but you can have it create a GIF or GIF or whatever you want to call it. Then from here, go back to the camera. And now if we do that same thing, so again, swipe the shutter down. Go back to the photos. And there we go. The next thing I'm going to show you is a feature called the floating shutter button. This feature is especially useful if you're maybe taking a selfie at an awkward angle, because what it does is gives you a second shutter on the screen. So say you're holding the phone like this and you only have one hand, so you don't want to have to reach over to the actual shutter. Definitely convenient for that. So for this, what you're going to want to do is go to Settings. Then from here, go to where it says Shooting Methods. So let's see, that's right here. Then from here, enable floating shutter. And now if we go back to the camera, as you can see, the button is right here and you can move it wherever you want. So yeah, definitely convenient if you're using sort of an uncomfortable angle, so like this. And as you can see, it does work pretty well. And to get rid of it, do pretty much the same thing, so go back to Settings. From here, go to Shooting Methods. And from here, disable it. And that's pretty much it. Now the next thing I'm going to show you is also in this menu, and that's a few different things you can do with the volume keys. Now as you can see here, this is pretty much the default setting. It's basically going to be like a little physical shutter button. So it is nice to have multiple ways to take photos, so let me show you. So volume up, volume down. But there are a couple other options. So if we go back to Settings, Shooting Methods, go to where it says Press Volume buttons. And as you can see, you can choose between Take Picture or Record Video, Zoom in or out, or Control Sound Volume. So let's do Zoom. Go back to the camera. And now Volume Up will zoom in. And Volume Down zooms out. And it does go all the way to the ultra-wide camera, so pretty cool. Now I'm going to show you how to activate the grid lines. To do this, go to Settings. Then from here, go to where it says Grid. So right here, toggle it on. Now if we go back to the camera, as you can see, we now have a grid. And then finally, the last thing I'm going to show you is a quick way to switch between your front-facing camera and your rear camera. Now keep in mind, this is active by default, so you shouldn't have to do anything for it. But in case it doesn't work for you for some reason, what you can do is go to Settings. And in this menu, make sure this option right here is toggled on, so swipe up and down to switch cameras. And when it is, using this feature is pretty straightforward. So essentially, no matter which camera you're in, if you swipe up or down, it will switch between them. So like this. And there we go. And one more time. And again, it does work if you swipe up too, so overall, pretty cool. But this concludes my camera tips and tricks video for the Samsung Galaxy A15 5G. Again, if you do end up wanting to learn more about this phone, be sure to check out the description, where I am linking to several other videos about it, as well as some information about pricing, availability, and some of my favorite smartphone accessories. But that's it for this video. If you enjoyed it and found it useful, be sure to give it a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button. Don't forget to follow Kalipas Tech on Twitter and Instagram. And as always, I will see you in the next video.